Well, good afternoon and welcome to Xandermonium, the talk show that gets you talking. I'm Xander Gibb, and on today's show, along with my co-host Tyhe, Egar, I will be looking at this week's newsiest items and taking your calls. And in part deux, we will be checking in with the fabulous Colton Ford and getting a preview of his new album, Next Chapter. More to come in a mere moment. So as usual, you can interact with us during the show in the chat room at the bottom of the page. Keep scrolling down, it will take you there. And our chat should be opening right now because I forgot to do it. Apologies for that. So it's open right now. Keep scrolling down on the page. You might need to click restart to refresh so that you can join in the chat. Now, if it doesn't let you join in the chat, you need to join the Blog Talk chat with either Facebook or Twitter with one simple click. You can call us with your comments and interesting stories on 347-884-9061. That's 347-884-9061. You will also be able to call Colton Ford in part two on that number, 347-884-9061. You can also tweet us. My Twitter handle is at XanderGibb, XanderGibb, capital X, capital G. Don't forget that at symbol. Tyhe's Twitter handle is at Egar, TYHEPAULEGAR, capital T, capital P, capital E, and the at symbol. And Colton's Twitter handle is Colton Ford Music. That's COLTONFORDMUSIC, capital C, capital F, capital M. And again, don't forget that at symbol. You can tweet me or Tyhe if you're too shy, and we will endeavor to make your point for you. Oh, yes, indeed. So this week, President Obama gave his State of the Union address, and I was kind of left scratching my head at some of his commentary and really struggled to see that he was indeed talking about these United States. Now, his statements about the war on terror were so out of touch, and it's scary to think that this man is responsible for our safety. Not only did he not make it to France in order to support our allies and stand arm in arm with other world leaders after the Charlie Hebdo assassinations, but he found the time to pay homage to the King of Saudi Arabia. What does this say about our leadership right now, and how does the world view us in light of this behavior? Now, the Islamification of America continues, and this week a Muslim cleric was brought in to say prayers over the Senate. I mean, what next? Changing the slogan to One Nation Under Allah? Now, just to be polite, now don't get me wrong, I have many friends of the Muslim faith who, like me and you, want to work and live peacefully, pay their taxes. Well, not so much the latter, because none of us do want to pay our taxes, but it's not moderates we have to be concerned about. Now, political correctness is going mad, and to be honest, if you are a Muslim and you cannot condemn ISIS, Hamas, or any other Islamic terror group for their actions, I'm sorry, but I cannot buy that. If you are not with us, then you are clearly against us. And if you support those who would oppress us, then go and live with them and see how that feels. Now, if we continue to be only concerned as a nation with political correctness, it will be our undoing. Now, if our leadership is unwilling to recognize and name our enemy, we have to wonder why. And freeing terrorists and swapping them for U.S. citizens is such a bad precedent. And of course, the top Taliban freed have all gone to work in the community or at McDonald's. Not. Clearly, they have gone back to their prior activities, and I would not be surprised if this is a connection to the recent increase in terror activity of late. Now, be vigilant, people, and say what you feel. Don't be frightened away from saying things how they are Oh no, indeed. So that was Xander's soapbox for this week. If you'd like to come and get on your soapbox, you can email me at xander@xandergibb.com. At xander@xandergibb.com. So joining me to break down the hotter topics, the issues that matter, is my co-host, broadcaster, writer, and Colton Ford superfan, the one, the only Mr. Tyhe Paul Egar. Welcome back to the show, Tyhe. How you
Hello.
doing, Mr. Superfan?
I'm doing well. You've got to stop doing it. He's become an independent musician now, you know. You have to be careful. We don't want fans thinking I'm actually stalking him. I don't want to be attacked on the streets of Glasgow by other fans going, leave him alone, he's mine. You know. But I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm sure he has kind of like different fans to One Direction and Lady Gaga, etc. Who fight all the time over who is the closest to that particular celebrity, which I always find hilarious. Of course, your fans and my fans are just the same. In fact, they're outside my door right now. I'm going to have to throw a bucket of cold water on them. So, how has your week been, Tyhe? What has it been filled with?
It's been good. It's been a bit strange because basically I have, now people who have heard me before, I've become an eco whore, okay? So I give in. But basically, I have genuinely given up to public demand, and you can now get my book in paperback edition. It is now possible to buy my book in a physical form, and it's genuinely been by public demand because so many people have asked when I was going to publish it as a physical book, and I always said, as you know, I said I'm never going to do that, and the only reason I said I was never going to do it was for ecological reasons because I'm thinking of the rainforest. But so many people generally ask. So I've spent a while trying to find the most ecologically friendly way to do it, because I thought I had to do it because I am actually letting people down who don't have a Kindle or don't want to buy the digital version of it. So Amazon, who I know people slag off all the time, but I've had a fantastic relationship with them, I have to say. But so the lovely Amazon, I found a way of doing it with them. So if you want to, so people who have been bugging me, if you listen to this show now, and you would think, some of those people who are hassling me, you can go to your local bookstore, or you can order it on Amazon as paperback. But it is only printed when it's ordered now. So there are not thousands of copies of my book sat around waiting to be bought. It's only printed when it's actually ordered. So you can order it from a bookstore, or you can order it online, but it's only printed then when it's ordered. So this is my answer to my ecological quandary. So there you go.
I think that's amazing. I think that is absolutely amazing. And yes, I know I personally have had a lot to say about Amazon. As a customer, I have to say, working with them as a partner for selling my merchandise, they've been absolutely wonderful. I can't fault them on that front. I really can't. So people would just need to go to Amazon, type in your name, Tyhe Paul Egar, and your book would come up, and they could buy it in whichever version they choose.
Yeah, either type in my name or Mother's Ruin, and it will come up, and it will say, the first thing it will say is Kindle, but if you look just under that, it will say also available in paperback, and then you can click on that and order it as a paperback, and it will say then when it will be available. And then what happens is it is literally printed for you, and then it will be mailed to you. But it's literally only printed as you order it. So that was that was the best I could do ecologically. So it's only printed when people order it.
So tell me, if you type in Colton Ford Superfan on Amazon, does your stuff come up from there?
You never know. You never know. Because, I mean, there are DJs that know me in many places who when I walk in, will automatically start playing Colton's music. And if I email him in other cities, will play, have played his stuff for me, because I promote him quite a lot. And when we start, we are organising our new. Well, I'll talk to him when he comes on, obviously, but I'll email him. But when we start our new email our new website this week as well. We're getting the company's getting very dynamic this week as well. We'll be promoting them as well. We'll be putting links up. So yes, I am a super fan. What can I tell you? But
they will be able to find you.
Don't worry, I'm not stalking him.
But they will be able to find you at the same address for the website.
Yes.
The address is not changing. Just your site is going to be different.
No, just the site's changing. Yeah, we're revamping it, but the address will never change because it took us long enough to get it. So yeah, the address will never change.
Absolutely. So as you heard in my preamble, Tyhe, I was talking about the people are not very happy with President Obama right now. Although he has published that his approval rating is up and higher than it's ever been. I don't know who he's been talking to, and people criticized him as well this week for refusing to meet with the president of Israel being one of the United States and the UK's allies, but he was quite happy to sit down for half an hour and do an interview with a YouTube celebrity, and I use the word very lightly, who is famous for taking baths in milk with Cheerios. So he could meet with her, but he couldn't meet with the president of Israel. Now, you were kind of a bit irked about something to do with the president as well this week. What was that?
It wasn't just him. It was kind of my bugbear every year is Darvo, which for people who maybe not in the know, we spoke about this last year. Darvo is the place where all our lovely wealthy world leaders get together, and all the big CEOs will get together and discuss the finances of the world and tell us, how the rich are getting richer, but don't worry, the poor are getting poorer. And of course, they have this conversation over, $3,000 bottles of wine and $5,000 meals. And last year, famously, Cameron, our prime minister, said, "No, I won't stay for the meal. I think it's too expensive," and then came back and had a $3,000 bottle of wine to discuss how upset he was about how much the food had cost. So what I had done. I know, it's fabulous, isn't it?
Did somebody say hypocrisy there in the background?
I know, shout, somebody banging on the door, let the peasants free. But so I kind of took this I just wanted to put this out there because it just makes me really angry, and they're still talking about the deficit and how well we're doing. And so I took this from a website that, because again, Xander and I, can't do all this campaigning, as you know, we're always going on about things, and we're never going to stop going on about them. But I took these facts from this year, because yet again, this year they're telling us that yes, the rich are not going to apologise for getting richer, but it's okay because the poor are getting rich as well, okay? So I just wanted to put this because this is Obama. He was talking earlier last week about, the finances, that the country's getting richer, and there's a little bit at the end of this I'm going to talk about America, but these are the things about going on between the UK and America. But he was talking about, the climate getting better, and of course Cameron over here is talking about things getting better. And in the middle of these two incredibly wealthy countries are, the sub-Saharan Africa, for example, which is what I'm going to use here, who are a fair trade country. Remember, I don't know if it's happening in America, but over here now suddenly you can buy all these fair trade products, where supposedly the manufacturers are, the people being paid to crawl around fields picking coffee beans or manufacturing clothing are now being paid a fair wage, so we can all feel, more comfortable in our beds at night. And the people who meet in Darvo are telling us all that this is okay and the poor are getting richer. So these are the figures that I wanted to kind of point out, so according to Darvo. But in reality, in 2005, an average CEO pay was £3,304,000, okay? The number of people living on less than $1.25 a day in a sub-Saharan Africa was 394 million, nearly 395 million. In 2008, okay, so this is only 3 years after that, an average CEO pay in the UK was nearly £4 million. The number of people on less than $1.25 a day in sub-Saharan Africa was 386 million. So it had decreased by less than 1 million, okay? Now, Darvo, don't forget, these people are dining on $5,000 meals per head, or 3,000 or whatever it was. So our so-called political elites love the private sector because it's more efficient than the public sector. This is what they tell us. The truth is the private sector only works by taking billions of pounds of public money in from the subsidies and support. Now you have, what's your version of the job seekers over there as unemployment benefits? What's it called there?
Welfare,
right. Well, over here they tell us that the welfare benefits are a huge drain on public sector here. So job seeker benefits here total around £5 billion a year, pensions around £75 billion, and child benefits £12 billion. Okay, which sounds a huge amount of money, but the subsidies we give to the big businesses every year amount to £85 billion, and the final bank bailout, when we rounded it all up at the end, when all the banks fell, was £940 billion. And
wow.
Just to make this, exactly, and just for America, okay, just so you keep thinking why we're talking about England or Britain, this is for you, okay, between 1990 and 2001, this is what the government promised you for growth. For every $100 worth of growth in the global income per person, just 60 cents contributed to reducing poverty. More recently, in the first 3 years of economic recovery since the 2008 financial crash, 95% of the proceeds of growth in the USA went to the top 1%. And I got all this information from the globaljustice.org.uk. So everybody who's listening to this, if you go to that site, there is a lot more information there, and it will either enrage you or terrify you. But in a bit, because I'm telling you all this, by the way, and I know that all sounded really dry, and it was a lot of figures I threw at you. But think about that. What the 1% of the USA wealth got 95% of that growth, of that profit. But Darvo are about to throw all these interesting little facts at us about telling us how we're getting wealthier, how about the poor of the world getting richer, and it's lies and it's nonsense. And what's really happening is the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And Obama's talking to women who are bathing in milk, ignoring what's going on in the world. And Cameron here is campaigning to get you voted in yet again as a prime minister in a country that is getting poorer and poorer, and food banks are getting more and more necessary. So when all these figures are thrown at you from Darvo, go and visit www.globaljustice.org.uk, and there's a lot of information there about the States, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. This is not all about the UK, but obviously I'm representing kind of on Xandermonium. I'm kind of the voice of the UK, and obviously Xander's based in the US. So that's why I've given those figures. But Darvo is happening this week, and it just really makes me angry and sick to my stomach when they start fighting out all their lies.
And it's kind of, the other thing that's come at the same time as this is that Congress announced this week, in the last week, that in this country they give food stamps to people on very low incomes. They've actually decided that they would cut that for the next financial year by as much as $90 a month from 85,000 of the nation's poorest to help them buy their groceries. But every single senator will get a pay rise, and I'm sure every MP will too. Now, the thing that struck me is when I lived and worked in London, when I used to get my salary, I would see my net, my gross, and also there's another line that says London waiting. Now, for anybody that lives outside of London, they don't get that, but there was always an extra amount paid in your salary to recognize that it was more expensive to live in a city. And when it came to America, I was surprised that didn't happen. So you would think that if you lived in New York City and worked in a job, that you would get, a percentage higher to qualify the fact that the cost of living is higher in the city. Now, not only does that not occur, but every year the cost of living goes up, and it's more expensive to buy food, gas, all of these things. But the proportion of increase in salaries is not in line with the increase in the cost of living. So the poorer people are in effect getting poorer and poorer all the time, because the tax breaks always go to the rich. Like you just said, $3,000 for a bottle of wine. I mean, I won't pay more than $10 for a bottle of wine. So for these people to be spending our taxpayer dollars and pounds on this kind of thing is disgusting. But you know why it happens? Because we've let them do it, and we continue to let them do it. And nothing changes because people don't speak out and they don't stand up and say, this is wrong. And unfortunately, I've come to see in the past few years that a politician is a politician, and whether they say they will do X, Y, and Z differently to the opposing party, they're just the same wolves in sheep's clothing. And the unfortunate thing is that people are suffering. I heard someone say the other day that we'd come out of the economic. We might be entering a new economic downturn. I wasn't aware that the last one had ended, to be honest.
No, well, exactly, and that's what makes me really angry about things like Darvo, and here as well. Just recently, this week, Westminster, our government, our national government, have announced the powers that they're going to give to Scotland. After the no vote, they're saying, but here are the powers that we're going to give you as a gift, to make you more independent. And of course, Scotland have said, well, it's not enough. But it's a sign that it made them very, very nervous. Of course, they could always call another referendum here and go for another independence vote. But that's exactly what's happening. And they keep saying here, oh, well, there might be another dip. And we're saying, well, when did it get better? Because here, the NHS staff, which is health staff here, nurses, doctors, etc., nursing staff were offered a 1% pay rise, and that's the first pay rise they've been offered in over 5 years. And that's just offensive.
Wow.
Because what's a 1% pay rise would equate to something like 60 cents a week increase in the pay packet after tax. I mean, what are you going to do with that? It's offensive. And yet the politicians are saying, oh, we're going to turn down our 11% pay offer from our independent governing body. So they did, and they took a 6%. And it just goes on, and now we find out more and more, because their second homes are paid for by us. They have a second home in London or in the outskirts of London because they have to be at Westminster for work, and so we pay for that out of taxes. The people of the UK pay for those homes, but when they are sold, those MPs get to keep the profits.
That is really disgusting, and I think that I just wonder how these things are ever going to change. I mean, in some jobs, like President Bush, both senior and junior, they get a salary for life after they've been the president. Why the hell should they? They can make enough money from book endorsements and public speaking and things like that. Yeah. But it all comes out of the taxpayers' purse, but then they have the audacity to say, well, we don't have enough money, we're going to have to cut food stamps. How the hell can they actually do that with a straight face and make these ridiculous cuts in that area? How about not giving senators and politicians a pay rise for 2 years and using that money to help the poorer sections of the community? Because hey, most of us manage, but there are some people on the very low income bracket that are struggling, really struggling to survive.
Absolutely. And what makes me smile about all this, in a very sardonic way, is if you were smart enough to get yourself to the White House, then I'm fairly reasonably confident that you're smart enough to get another job after it. So earn a living, stop living off other people's backs But it's the same here, though. I mean, these politicians, Tony Blair now, they're multi-millionaires. These people just go on. Even in power, they make money, and it just goes on and on and on. But you're right, we're never doing it. We say this all the time. Universal donkeys. We don't do anything about it. We sit at home and wait for our saviour to knock on the door, and we are our own saviours. And until we make the change. But it's going to be a really interesting election here. We've only got a few months to go now, 6 months, I think, or something.
Right.
And the three main parties here are in complete panic and complete uproar because they just don't know how it's going to go. And we've got another party here called UKIP, the United Kingdom Independent Party, who are, as far as I'm concerned, a joke. But people have started to vote for them in local elections, which is usually an indication of people just, roaring, showing their voice to say how unhappy they are with the bigger parties. But the guy, Nigel Farage, who's the leader, he's a moron, frankly. He honestly believes he's gaining. But they're now wanting debates using smaller parties. So they want something like 7 of the smaller parties now in a debate with the leaders of the larger parties. And it's just becoming a farce. When really, I think Scotland as well. I mean, I'll certainly be voting for the Scottish National Party. The MSP, which is the answer to Labour in Scotland, really.
Right.
Because nobody's
interested. Which is the same as the Democrats in the United States.
Yeah, because it's just become. The 3 major parties here. Are ridiculous here. They're so corrupt here. There's no option. I mean, it doesn't matter which one you go for. They're all going to screw you over. And I know, Brenda, you have no idea what that just said. It means. Oh, sorry, my accent. Brenda's talking about my accent, by the way, for folks who aren't in the chat room. And what I mean is, it gets mentioned. My accent amuses a lot of American people, and bemuses a lot of Scottish people. So there you go. But so we
have subtitles. We have subtitles going on, Tyhe.
So the 3 main parties here are under a lot of pressure, and I hope it's keeping them up every single night, and I hope it keeps them up every single night until the election, and then afterwards.
I mean, with the greatest of respect to our Scottish listeners, wasn't it obvious to anyone with half an eye that what was going to happen is people wouldn't vote yes in the referendum because they were afraid of breaking away. Then the UK Parliament would not do the things that they said they were going to do, and then there'll be a threat of a referendum again. But I think it will take another referendum for people to finally say, screw this, why should we be treated this way? Because the money's not flowing where it's supposed to flow. I think that Scotland should get an equal bite of the cherry, but they don't get that, do they?
No, they don't. And Westminster always says, well, we spend, a lot of money gets paid into Scotland. What they don't bother mentioning to people is a lot of more money comes out of Scotland and back into England. But it's always the same. Although this government, this Conservative government, or this Republican government for America in the UK, has been the most corrupt government in a long, long time in the UK. But it's also been the most found out government really in the UK for a very long time as well. I mean, thanks to the internet and thanks to some very fastidious people, they have been found out a lot, which is good, and it's good for people. But there's also been, there are some stories, you never know what to believe, unfortunately, these days, but there are some stories about the yes vote in this country. There's some stories of real corruption going on about that it was falsified, basically. That a lot of us believe that the vote should have been a lot more leaned towards the yes than it was.
I would have thought so too. I mean, I know there was probably a big proportion of people that were afraid of it, but I would have thought there were more people that wanted Scottish independence than actually the voting figures kind of showed. I mean, for me, I just think it's sad, and whilst I would never kind of encourage violence of any form, I think it's time for a revolution, because when there are revolutions, things really do change, and unfortunately, there's been no kind of active opposition that's been able to enforce enough change for things to change, and we're just slaves to that system, as you said. The unfortunate thing is that the people that do speak out, like you and I, don't have enough power to actually affect change, but these things are still going on. I mean, at least we're making people aware of the situation. But how ridiculous is it of these people? Obama going to cutting off his $100,000 holiday to go and give a talk to this convention about finance. I mean, to me, that's ridiculous. When was the last time you had a holiday? I can't remember when I last had a holiday.
Well, mine was about 3 years ago, I think. But I mean,
right.
But you and I, our money, we don't have that luxury. I mean, our money is funneled into what we're doing right now, or what we're trying to achieve. Same as Colton is now, independent musician. We funnel our money into trying to further what we're doing, and spend a lot of time researching and producing, and and that. So yeah, it's a long time since I've had a holiday. And usually, as you know, when we take time away from other work, it's so we can focus on something else that needs our attention. Yeah.
You're totally right, and I think that the way the economy is, most of us have to diversify and do other things, as well as the things that we're trying to do that will kind of eventually long term hopefully make us increase our incomes. But most people when they first start doing things have to have a day job, because when you don't have a day job and you've not got the work coming in, there's actually nothing to kind of fall back on. So changing tact totally. I don't know whether you kind of got this story in the UK, but Billy Crystal is apparently tired of gay sex on TV. Gay sex on TV, you ask? Well, even though he played one of the first openly gay characters on U.S. television, the comedian thinks that today's gay storylines are too full on. The 66-year-old thinks today's writers are at risk of pushing it with homosexual storylines. Now, his controversial comments were made about LGBT characters when he was promoting his new series, The Comedians, which I sure won't be watching, which premieres in April. So on Soap, which ran from 1977 to 1981, he played an openly gay character, Jody Dallas, who was the sitcom's main character's son. Now, Crystal also revealed it was difficult for him to play, mainly to becoming frustrated with the audience's reaction during intimate scenes. Jody was the first recurring gay character on network television, and it was a different time, so because it was 1977. So yeah, it was awkward, it was tough, said Billy Crystal. It did not. I did it in front of a live audience, and there were times when I would have to say to Bob Seagren, who was his boyfriend in the show, "I love you," and the audience would laugh nervously. He later added a statement clearly to save face. "What I meant to say was that whenever sex or graphic nudity of any kind, gay or straight, is gratuitous to the plot or story, it becomes a little too much for my taste." Now, what's your immediate reaction to this, Tyhe?
Right, well, firstly, before I say what I'm going to say, so you know what's coming, kudos to the man for playing a gay character in the 70s, because it was incredibly difficult. I loved Soap. It was a fantastic series.
Me too.
And it was a brave thing to do for an up-and-coming actor to play a gay character in those days, because it could have trashed his career, and he did it brilliantly, I think. Obviously it was a farce, and I mean that in the real sense of the word. But yes, that I meant it as gay or straight. He meant what he said. Because if he meant that any kind of sexual overtones that were done too much, then he would have said that in the first place. He wouldn't have singled out gay sex. So I don't believe for a minute that he meant the second statement. And if people think that gay sex is going too far on TV, well, stop watching it. Because I certainly...
Yes, exactly. My point exactly.
I would not be, if I'm watching a TV show and there is a straight couple going at it and I think I don't want to watch this, I'll either look away till they've finished or I'll switch channels. I certainly don't force myself to watch a heterosexual sex scene. That's just me for you, ladies and gentlemen. And
I have to say, and before anybody writes in and say this is too gay, I suggest people vote with their finger, as in turn over the show. If you don't like it, don't watch it. But let me ask you this, Tyhe.
Go on.
Let me just ask you this. How many shows can you name? Now obviously it's stricter in the US than it is in the UK. How many shows can you name that have gay sex scenes in them? Apart from maybe Shameless.
Off the top of my head, I would really struggle, and I don't watch Shameless, so I don't know. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I know it's a very funny series. It's just not one that I tuned into. I would say I can't think of anyone not with gay sex in it. As an adult show, the only one I could think of was True Blood. That's finished now, though. But that wasn't every episode. But there wasn't sex in every episode, full stop, gay or straight. But there was gay sex in that. Revenge, there is the connotation of it, but not gay sex, and he's bisexual anyway, the character. I can't know. I'm struggling. I really am struggling. But you're taking me by surprise, to be honest. If I'd known you were going to ask me, I'd have researched it.
That was my response too. And I watch a lot of TV.
Well, me too.
And I cannot think of anything. I mean, the American version of Shameless has a fair bit of gay sex and straight sex, to be fair. But this is the thing. For those of you listening in the U.S., in England there was a woman, I think she's died now, well hopefully she has, Mary Whitehouse, who was an avid campaigner for not swearing on TV, not having gratuitous sex on TV, and what she could never grasp was that if something was on the TV that offended her, I don't think there were remotes in those days, but that she should get off her saggy, preppy ass and go and turn the TV over. Why should one section of the community get to say exactly what goes on? If you don't like it, don't watch it. Vote with your finger.
Absolutely, and I think the point is, as well, it's the thing about gay marriage as well, or it's ruining marriage. And as I pointed out before on the show, for a start, marriage was not, it got nothing to do with God. It was a pagan ceremony that the Christian stuff. And now we're going on about gay sex on TV, right? Well, please, people, call in or email me, because I'm right up for watching it and I can't find it. As we've just pointed out now, we've just proved, I can't think of any show. I cannot think of shows with gratuitous gay sex on it. But what I can think of are shows where straight men don't complain, and that's shows with a lot of lesbian sex in it. Straight men don't complain about that. They're quite happy to watch that. In fact, I can think of quite a few shows with lesbians in it and lesbian sex scenes. And by the way, I mean, this is no offense to my lesbian sisters. What I'm talking about are these straight men that complain about gay sex, not lesbian sex, okay? So, ladies, I mean, no offense to you whatsoever. I'm just pointing that as a fact, as a hypocrisy, basically. But as far as it's now going on about that, I mean, what we need to say is, ladies and gentlemen and others, okay, gay people are facts of life. We always have been, just the same as you. We get married, and also, can I point out so far that gay marriage has gay marriages have lasted longer than a few Hollywood marriages, all right? So screw you. And we have sex, shock horror. And some shows, when it involves gay couples being in those shows, they're going to have sex. But as far as it being gratuitous, I mean, who's rattled Billy Crystal's cage? And also, as he's pointing out, by the way, can I just say, Billy, you got onto the screen at first playing a gay character. So get over yourself, man.
Yeah. It's a case of do as I say, not as I've done. I tweeted that to him, but he didn't bother to reply. But let me just go back a minute. You just said that gay couples have sex. I must have been out that day when I had a boyfriend. I really must have. Why? What do you think? Do you think that he thinks that if he creates a bit of controversy about all of this, that it will make people more interested in the show? Because it just makes me not want to watch him. I mean, I've always liked Billy Crystal, but when people start talking trash like this, because it is trash, let's face it. Because at the end of the day, your preference is your preference, and what you want to see is what you want to see. And it's fair enough that he has his opinion, but I just wonder what's behind it. I wonder if a political group has paid him to say it.
You never know though, do you? Because people just get weird, and particularly, I think particularly, I'm going to say this, what the hell, particularly American actors get weird as they get older. I think there's a lot of hypocrisy in Hollywood. I think there's a lot of fear in Hollywood. And as I've said before on this show, if you took the gay out of Hollywood, it would be a car park. So I really don't get it. But I think that maybe either I don't know, politics are involved, or maybe his fan base has changed. I don't know. But to make a comment like that for no reason, out of the blue, suddenly somebody started campaigning against soap or something? I don't know. What has happened in his life that he suddenly has made this comment about gay sex in TV? Because
maybe his boyfriend left him.
Maybe,
allegedly,
who knows? Allegedly, yeah, and it makes a change. It's usually me making those comments, but I don't know. What has happened in his life that he suddenly needs to make this comment? Because as you have just, you threw me completely. I've not been able to give you a list of shows that have gratuitous gay. I've not been able to give you a list of shows that have gay sex in them. Never mind gratuitous gay sex. And what's gratuitous gay sex? Because what are we saying? That the moment a show starts, there are two men screwing each other, and it doesn't stop until the show finishes. What does it mean, gratuitous? That's a very big word, and no pun intended. So gay men are having sex constantly throughout the show, which means there is no plot line whatsoever. It's just two men going, "Hi, love it, let's get it on," and roll credits. Because that doesn't happen in any show. It doesn't happen with heterosexual sex. It doesn't happen with lesbian sex. It doesn't happen with gay sex. In any show, even porn movies, they have a break at some point. So what is it? I don't understand what his comment means, really.
Well, I spoke to several gay people about this, and one of them is quite high up in the media, and I said, "Can you name me 5 TV shows that have gay sex in them?" And he didn't even come up with Shameless. The only reason I know Shameless is because I watch it, and obviously I only watch it for the gratuitous gay sex. Billy, if you're listening, haha. But even this person that's high up in the media, who I won't name because it's not fair to name, they could not come up with 5. They couldn't come up with 1. So
No.
I don't know. I just wonder where this has come from. I just tweeted out, and I tagged Billy Crystal in the tweet.
Yeah, I've just retweeted it.
So maybe if he wants to call us and tell us exactly what the hell his problem is, that will be great. Anyone who wants to call us can call us on 347-884-9061. That's 347-884-9061. Billy, if you want to call us to tell us exactly what your beef is and what's caused this outburst, you can call us. There's definitely no gratuitous gay sex scenes on this show today. Because we canceled them just because you might call in and talk to us. I loved the TV show Soap too. I love him doing the not the Oscars, what's it's called? It's some award show he does every year, the Emmys, or does quite often. But
the Grammys.
I don't know where does this leave us now with Billy Crystal? It's kind of concerning.
I think we just leave him alone. Nobody will really care, will they? I just think it's a shame that a man who was so brave as an actor to play that character in the 70s, when it really wasn't cool, to play a gay man, and it could have really damaged your career, he did it, and he did it very well. He did it as a comedian. You know, to make that comment, I don't understand where it's come from. And as far as I'm aware, he's not homophobe, and if he is, he's kept it very well hidden for a very long time. And it just seems a strange comment to make, and when it's not the case. And if he's got a problem, I mean, because in fact, as far as I'm concerned, there are nowhere near enough gay characters in TV and movies right now. What pisses me off is the fact that that there aren't that many gay characters anywhere, nowhere near enough. And as I've said, what happens is when they want to play it safe, suddenly there's a lesbian character somewhere, which is great for the lesbian community. As I say, you know, to my sisters, I am really pleased about that. Don't get me wrong, that is in no way criticism of the lesbian community. It's great for them, but where are the gay characters? Because the only time I've ever seen gay, you know, in the soap operas here, when gay characters did start coming up in soap operas here, they all had problems. They were all emotionally damaged, or they were all having problems with their family didn't accept them. You know, there was never a positive character here for ages, and it drove me insane. And,
right.
And so as far as I'm concerned, there are nowhere near enough gay characters, positive gay role models in any shows anywhere.
For me, I've always thought, you know, and I've worked in the industry for 25 years, 25 years in the business. I've always felt that the TV should be reflective of the community. And when I was growing up and I watched TV shows and there weren't people that were like me, you know, short, fat, gay kids, I always had to wonder why that was. And yeah. Surely the thing is that there are all sorts in life. And you know, there's even this series now. It's on Amazon Prime. You know, all these plugs for Amazon today. They should give me a free membership. It's called What's it called? Gosh, I can't think what it's called. What? Transparent. That's it.
Transparent. Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I've seen some of it. I haven't had a chance. I don't have time to sit and what you do. Watch more TV than I do. I haven't had time.
I do. Well, the TV's on all the time when I'm working, because it keeps my mojo going. That I stop for a minute, watch a bit of TV, and then go back to what I'm doing. I just remembered yesterday it was free to stream for the whole day, so I could have watched it yesterday. But apparently it's coming to TV. No pun intended.
Yeah.
So you know, it's another thing to watch out for, because there are transsexual people in our community. You know, we've known transsexual people for the last 30 years, and you know that's cool too. And it's great that these people are finally being. You see, when we see things on TV, it's kind of normalized. I'm not saying it's not normal to be a transsexual, but I think it's great that they actually are including these storylines now, rather than just, you know, than just never mentioning it. You know, because even 30 years ago, you couldn't say the word gay on TV. You couldn't even, you know, say, oh, it's a bit funny. You know, that they never even used to like to allude to it, because they were frightened of offending people. I think TV should offend people. You know, I think people. This is the thing. I once heard about Ricky Gervais. Ricky Gervais, you remember when he first started off, he was a comedian on the Friday night show, and he used to say stuff that was quite offensive about disabled people. And when he was asked about that, you know, why do you say these things about disabled people? He said, because I want to get the conversation going. I want people to talk about it. And if I am shocking, then people will say, did you hear what that Ricky Gervais said the other day about crippled people? Yeah. You know, he's got a nephew or a relative that's disabled. You know, I'm paraphrasing. But you know, it's essential for these subjects to be put on our screens to actually open the conversation up. I just have to share with you that Brenda says that the reason Billy Crystal said what he said is because he's not very good in bed. Now, that is just one of the opinions of our listeners. It's not necessarily the opinion of the show, so don't sue us if you have slept with Billy Crystal. And if you have, you do have our condolences. I mean, this is the thing. I don't want to hate him for what he said, but unfortunately it will make me less likely to want to watch him now, because it's just so damn stupid. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? I don't want to call him homophobic because it's easy to jump right to that, but it makes me less inclined to want to turn him on the TV talking, of course.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's not actually. I mean, technically, he's not said anything homophobic, has he? He's not said, I don't like gay people, they shouldn't be on TV. What he said is, I don't want to see so much homosexual sex on TV. Or gay sex on TV, right? So let's not go down. He's not saying he's a homophobe, or he's not made a homophobic comment. He's just made this bizarre comment, insinuating or implying that his TV apparently is full of gay sex. Which Billy, change channels, or maybe you're on the wrong adult channel. But
yes,
I don't know. So I don't understand where these comments come from. But as you were saying, an interesting point that you just made, though, is that people think it's shocking. The whole point, this is my argument, is why there isn't enough gay characters in TV shows. It shouldn't shock people. Gay people in in life, we shouldn't shock people, unless we want to. Do you know what I mean? Here, pop this frock on. Oh my God, that's shocking, darling. It doesn't go with your eyes. Do you know what I mean? That is the only way we should be shocking people. It shouldn't be outraging people anymore. Gay people being in the world should no longer be freaking people out. It shouldn't be disgusting people. It should, homophobia is what we need to be getting rid of.
Exactly.
Perpetuating and making comments like that is going to perpetuate homophobia, because of course what that does do, even though he's not, to his mind, he's probably not made a homophobic comment, but that comment gives platform to homophobic.
Indeed it does. Because there will be some homophobes out there saying, yeah, effing queers, we don't want them on our TV. And it does kind of give rise to that. But I just want to come back to a point that Brenda just made in the chat room. She said, why isn't it normal to be a transsexual? Really, when you think of it, is there really a normal? I have to agree with her. I wasn't saying that it wasn't normal. But it's different from what is seen as the norm, and that's all I meant. But I think normal, for me, what is normal is right. What is right for you, and that's going to be different for everybody. Because I'm not normal. I don't know about you, Ty, but I wouldn't ever want to be normal.
I don't think anybody who's ever met me would use that word to describe me. But my philosophy in life is this: if it is happening between consenting adults, it is nobody else's business. And that's it.
Yeah,
that's my philosophy.
I kind of tend to agree. I mean, it's when people say, "Oh, I don't want to see two gay people kissing down the street." I don't want to see anybody kissing down the street. Keep it for when you're at home. Do you know what I mean?
Well, absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to see people tongue wrestling anywhere publicly. Thank you very much. I mean, don't mind people kissing on the cheek or on the lips, say hi, whatever. Of course you do. I mean, but then in my lifetime, frankly, I never ever thought I would see the gay couple being able to walk down the street hand in hand. I certainly never thought I would be able to express affection to my partner publicly. So when I see that with people, I mean, that's amazing to me. I mean, people don't realize how incredible that is for us as gay people, to be able to express that kind of affection, that simple expression of affection publicly. People just have no idea. So that's why it's a big deal for us. And I think that's what people lose. That's what we don't express enough as a gay community. What we should stop just shouting, "Hi, we're here, we're queer, get used to it." And what people don't understand about pride is just how phenomenal, how massive those small, those changes are for us, that people just see as tight. They'll think, well, what's that? That's nothing. To them, to the straight community, that is nothing, because you've been doing it all your lives and it's acceptable. Of course it's acceptable. But to us, those tiny little changes are massive. And that's why we make such a big noise, and that's why we continue to make such a big noise about what you perceive as simple changes to us are monumental, and we're still pushing for even bigger changes, and that's the point. So these comments and this frippery, it has to be addressed, and we have to ask people, why did you make that comment? What is your point? And actually, we're nowhere near as visible as we should be. And also we're talking. You and I were talking earlier today about writers and new writers and upcoming writers and these staid and boring rehashes that these old farts that are still around writing the same old rubbish. Why aren't characters being written that are why aren't new gay characters being written into old shows? All these soap operas are dragging their backsides around.
Exactly.
That people are still watching. And where are the characters? Because certainly over here in soap operas now, gay characters are a matter of fact. They're just here. They're there. And Billy, they are not all having sex indiscriminately all the way through a storyline. In fact, they are family shows, and they are shown before the watershed, and they have gay characters in them.
I mean, I don't watch things just because they might have gay sex in them. I mean, I'm not 14 years old anymore. I hate to burst that bubble, but if it does have gay sex in them, then obviously it's just a bonus. But I don't flick through the TV guide and say, does this have gratuitous sex scenes in it? Do I want to watch it? No. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of it's kind of a presumption that most of us are that juvenile and naive to only kind of pick things that has gratuitous sex scenes. I mean, if it's gratuitous sex scenes and violence, then I'm there. And I just want to go back for a second to something you said about not being visible. Darling, you speak for yourself. I'm visible from space.
Oh, do you know? But actually, that's an urban legend as well. You can't see the Great Wall of China from space. You can't see anything from space apart from land masses, and of course your tiara.
Yeah, my tiara. I have to get that back from the cleaners. I thought things were visible from space with a satellite and a telescope.
And what? No, from space, looking down.
Right. Oh,
not looking up, obviously. No, they say from space you can see the Great Wall of China. It's so long and whatever, and that is a myth. You can't at all. You can only see land masses, obviously. And America, you are not the biggest land mass on the planet, but there you go.
And obviously, Billy Crystal's TV set also can be seen from space with all the gratuitous sex scenes that are just oozing out of it,
with a permanent donation to the gay porn channels, apparently. Yeah. So. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. I think he's been staying in a hotel, and the person that's been in the room before him has been watching this gay porn channel, and he switched on the cable box, and it's gone onto that, and he's like, all freaking night, all there is gratuitous sex, and he's got stuck on the gay porn channel on his cable box. I think that really explains what happened. In fact, later I'm going to tweet him and ask him if that was the case.
That would be so funny. Can you imagine that headline? Billy apologizes.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, guys. The problem was that I was stuck on the gay porn channel in the hotel I was staying in, and it was on all night. So I just automatically presumed that there was a lot of gratuitous gay sex on the TV. That's what it is. So we are sorry, Billy Crystal. We misjudged you, sir. And clearly the problem was that your cable box was stuck on the gay porn channel.
Oh, I could just see that. You see, that's just a Jewish thing, isn't it? If I never see another gay penis again. Oh, dear.
Yes, exactly. Hey, no, let's not bring the Jews into it. So moving swiftly on, it's time to bring on our guest. Now, Colton Ford is a singer, songwriter, and actor. Stop drooling, Tyhe, with an inimitable style and a voice to match. Now, he recently took a different direction with his sound, and we love it, and so will you. So his new album, Next Chapter, has met critical acclaim and has the thumbs up from the host. I think we should call ourselves hostesses. What do you think of this show? Now, before we talk to Colton, let's take a listen. Now, this song I'm about to play for you, if I can find the right button to press, is called Take Me from the album Next Chapter by the one, the only, Mr. Colton Ford. We'll be right with you after this. Oh, yes, indeed. That was one of the tracks from Colton Ford's new album, Next Chapter. So welcome back to the show. I actually feel like we're family. The one, the only Mr. Colton Ford. How's it going, Colton?
Hello. It's good. It's good. A little bout with allergies, but other than that, I'm doing my thing.
Me too, funnily enough. I thought I was the only one that suffered with allergies in the winter, but I guess I'm not so abnormal after all.
Yeah, and I'm out here in California now, so I'm still reacclimating and assimilating to the environment out here. I had the same trauma when I moved from the West Coast to the East Coast. I was hit with allergies I had never experienced before, but they're two very different environments, and
right.
Spent 44 years of my life in one, and then spent the last 7 years in the other, and now I'm kind of reassimilating back to the West Coast dynamic. But yeah, it's like I told my friend the other day, it just seems like I can't blow my nose enough. You know what I mean? I blow it and I'm thinking, okay, I'm good to go, and like 5 minutes later, I'm hitting the toilet paper again. It's crazy.
I'm sitting here with nasal spray in my hand as we speak. I kind of someone told me there's a limit of this stuff that you can use. Tyhe always thinks I'm using liquid cocaine. It isn't. It definitely is nasal spray. But I keep them in. I really do keep them in business. So let's talk a bit about music, Colton. Tell us about the change in direction with the new album, Next Chapter. What brought that about for you?
Well, the gentleman that I collaborated with, David Barrett, I came together with him for a project that he was doing, which was basically covering the entire Beatles catalog on ukulele. And each track, he invited a different artist to be featured. And I got pulled into that, and I did yesterday with him. And we just hit it off. He's got a really amazing style, eclectic and R&B and flavorful and singer-songwriter. And we just hit it off and started writing. And it kind of took me back to my roots and where I started, which was in straight R&B and soul, which I love. And I think that there's been a current and an underbelly of that throughout my music over the last 7-8 years. So it just felt like a natural progression, and one that I was looking to take. In addition to meeting David and working with him, incorporating a little bit more of my roots in that style, and it was a pleasure. I love writing stories and stuff like that, and this is definitely an album that has more of that kind of writing, and it was just a pleasure to work with David. And we finished it about two years ago. So we were holding on it, and last year was a year of a lot of change, and one of my goals was to get it out there as part of that shift. So,
right. So what is the fan base? You have a huge fan base. What has their response been to the change in direction?
It's been really, really positive. I, interestingly enough, had posts and comments from people that, expressed their appreciation for all my music that I've been putting out, but really felt like there was something else in there that we hadn't heard yet. And maybe, due in part to the fact that I think my last album that was primarily dance did have, some R&B ballads and definitely had some funk in there. And maybe that lent itself to a perception that there were more things up in that space that I had to explore and share. And it just coincidentally was right around the same time I was feeling that kind of a shift. I'm working on a really great dance track with a producer that I did Realize with, which was a fourth cut on The Way I Am, and he's amazing, and we got a really great writing vibe and connection going on, and so it's not a situation where I'm not going to also put out some dance songs and
right.
that kind of spirit. But certainly the new stuff I'm working on is a lot more R&B and soul-based, and it just makes me feel like I did when I was back in the 90s doing straight R&B,
Right.
And I love it.
I almost hate this ideology that as an artist you should only be able to do kind of like one kind of genre, because who says that you should only do one kind of genre?
Well, and I think there's a couple of things that come into play here. I think that the nature of the beast right now in music is that things are moving at the speed of sound. So gone are the days where you see singles stay on the charts and stay. How long has it been since we had those number one hits that were on the charts for months? It's just a really quick fix, immediate environment, and the market's saturated because you can get your music out now. It's not a dictatorship by the label system. So, which is great, but the downside of it is that it's a saturated market. So I think staying true to yourself and being organic in that process is a positive thing. I mean, at the end of the day, I want to do what feels right to me, and especially as I get older, it's like I want to do what I'm feeling. I don't want to go in there with any premeditation. Got to write a hit song, got to write a dance song, got to write this song, got to write that song. It's really for me what I'm feeling with the track and what the track inspires, and every track inspires something different. And so, it kind of seems like a natural progression, and especially at this stage in my life, I'm going to do what I feel like doing, period.
But I think you get that though from people now. I mean, I agree with you that you're saturated. I mean, every 30 seconds there's some maniac 12-year-old releasing something that you can't even pronounce. But I do think, and you're right. When when you've been around as long as we have, I mean that in the nicest possible way, darling. But when you've been around as long as we have, you do build up fans. But people, I think, stay with you and look forward to what you're going to release or what you're going to produce, because they know they're going to get something of quality. Because as you're saying there as well, you're not trying to write something formulaic, and you're not trying to just throw something out for the sake of it. And that makes a huge difference to people, I think, who appreciate your music. And you really took me by surprise with Yesterday, can I say? Because obviously, the next chapter I got as soon as it was released, and I knew you were doing Yesterday because obviously we'd spoken about it, and I didn't know what to expect, but it really took me by surprise. It's a really beautiful version, and it's been done so many times. And even as a fan of your work, you know, my expectation was, well, okay, what are you going to do with Yesterday that hasn't been done? And I mean, this is a huge compliment, by the way, not as a criticism. It really took me by surprise. It's a really beautiful version. I'll show it.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you. And I think David did an outstanding job with the track and the use of ukulele. I mean, it's really a beautifully constructed track. And, you know, I mean, I've been doing this all my life professionally for over 30 years. My roots are in R&B. I'm a crooner. I'm a balladeer. I mean, that's really who
Me too.
I have always been. And I love up-tempo songs, and you know, definitely know that there's a viable need for those things. But you know, I think ballads really are singer songs, and
yeah, absolutely.
And that is, you know, when I got the opportunity to be involved in the project, I was so surprised that no one had taken Yesterday, because I'm like, that is one of the most beautiful songs, you know. So you know, it's one of those songs that you just you can't go wrong with. And
well,
I thank you for saying that. I really enjoyed the way that turned out, and that was like a one take session
really?
too. I mean, it just
it was and kudos, by the way, for singing it as a gay man and not just staying safe with the lyrics. That was you certainly have respect for that as well. I was
going to say David really encouraged and supported that too, and you know, he's a straight man, but is not thinking in a restrictive way when it comes to that. And you know, he's from the UK. The Beatles are, of course, amazing. So, you know, the fact that he was sensitive to it being something that was real for me, in my experience. Yeah. I'm a gay man. I'm not a straight man, and I really appreciated that consciousness from him. But the whole project is great. If you all want to check it out, I think it's Beatles complete on ukulele. You can Google it. But he did the entire catalog and had some really
amazing.
Really amazing artists that he invited, and it's totally worth checking out if you haven't already.
I would have loved to have done that. I would have had to sing in my life. That's one of my all-time favorite songs, not just to listen to, but to perform. So didn't you co-wrote on this too, didn't you?
Oh yeah, all the other songs, with the exception of Level 49's Level 42, Something About You.
I was just going to say my favorite song's Never Wrong, so I was going to say, please don't tell me that. No.
What's that?
I was going to say my favorite song. Well, I love it obviously, but my favorite song is Never Wrong, and I was just going to say then, please tell me you co-wrote that, because I love that song.
No, I co-wrote all the tracks except the two covers. And again, like, you know, his tracks are really fucking cool. I mean, I kept getting them, and he would always have like some old, really cool elements within a kind of a R&B soul singer-songwriter vibe. I mean, there was so many different nuances that I just thought, this is so, his perspective and his musical thing is really, really cool. And it was such a pleasure to write to those kinds of tracks, because they're unique. I mean, you get the Adeles and, you know, all these artists that are coming out, Lords, that are really off the beaten path, but they're authentic and organic, and they blow up because people are like, oh my God, it's something different and fabulous. But I think he has that same quality in terms of styling of music that's got some R&B. It's eclectic. It's it's definitely got the commercial, I think, Take Me as a very commercial track.
He clearly knows. I mean, you clearly work both very, very well together, because some of those harmonies are scary. I mean, you've always been great at that anyway, but I mean, he's really brought shit out in you that's amazing. I mean, it is the next chapter, certainly, and I don't care when they were written, that it's clearly a move forward that is going to push you way ahead. I think he's really got the best out in you.
Thank you. And I love, one of the things I love to do is arrange vocals. And it was a pleasure, again, because the top lines that came out that the track inspired were really unique and really hooky. And, it was one of those, and I have a lot of these writing experiences, I have to say, where you just lock into a melody and it's just right.
Yeah.
You don't go through.
You can hear it.
I don't really go through a process of writing the melodic top line. I hone in on it pretty quickly, and the top lines for these tracks really it was a great marriage of everything. And he's a lovely man. He's so easy to work with, So it was a pleasure. We recorded everything in Brooklyn at his place, and I recorded a couple things at my place in the city. But we wrote and recorded most of the songs in the same day. It's one of those kinds of collaborations, which is really very cool to be able to go in to a writing session and then leave with a completed recorded song.
I'm rare. Yeah.
So it's been a real pleasure, and definitely one of the catalysts moving me in the direction that I'm in right now, which is more R&B soul driven tracks with some really cool dance ones in there as well. But yeah,
it works really well. But it doesn't feel. What's really great about it, though, is it doesn't feel like you've moved a million miles away from the way I am. And Tug of War. Well, Tug of War was much more R&B, I think, anyway, wasn't it? Or it feels that. But do you know what I mean? So I don't think fans are going to have any problem whatsoever coming with you at all, because it's still Colton Ford. It's still very clearly Colton Ford. And it's not,
well,
as I say, it's not a million miles away, So I really don't think. I think fans are just going to love it as much as they've loved everything else that you've done, and because it doesn't feel like.
Yeah, I was just going to say to Tyhe, it's really hard for me not to have me in whatever it is that I'm working on. So even the covers album and my kind of reinterpretation of those songs, the underbelly of that soul that I just feel is in there throughout. It's not like I changed my style, but wrote and created within the boundaries of what we were doing with those particular tracks and stuff. And I think the last album, The Way I Am, I mean, you can call it a dance album, but when you really look at it, it's got some EDM, it's got funk, it's got pop, and house and R&B. I mean, it really is a fairly all-inclusive record that's more than just a dance album. So I kind of feel like, it allowed for this transition. And then, you go back to my Tug of War album, and, that was really representative of kind of a lot of my roots, and house music pulls from that for me, funk and R&B and soul. And so, I mean, that's just kind of who I am as an artist. And now I definitely am in a place in my life at 52 where, I'm going to do it my way. At the end of the day, as you guys know, no matter what you do or how good you are, there are certain things about this evolution and experience that are out of our control. And
absolutely.
So at the end of the day, I want to walk away feeling satisfied for me first. And I think that translates to the listeners. And, what happens from there, is up to a lot of things that are seemingly random and out of our control. I was just talking to a friend of mine who's a casting director for Fox, and he was just telling me the odds of getting on a show that gets on TV and staying attached to it through so many different processes of where they, cast somebody, replace them, they rewrite and do away with characters. I mean, you're playing the lottery in certain respects, and certainly talent comes in when you have the opportunity and helps with longevity, but it's not a necessity for making it. And so I really feel now my life's stronger about this than ever, and that is, I got to do it for me.
Absolutely.
And then, let go of whatever, the expectations could be and just allow it to be what it's supposed to be.
Totally. So let's take the opportunity now and play another track from your album because time is marching on. We're going to play Love Is Taking Over. Do you want to set this up for us, Colton?
Yeah, I love this gooey track. It's so yummy. The harmonies are really great. And it's really about someone who is feeling all the feelings but apprehensive because the past his past experiences have led to a lot of heartache, but then want to keep it positive and turn it on the flip side. He then realizes in the bridge that, he's not that person he was in those relationships in the past. So this is something that could very well be different because he's different. And so, he wants to let it take over.
So let's play it right now. This is Love Is Taking Over by Colton Ford from the album Next Chapter.
Got love is taking over me.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Colton, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello.
Right.
Sorry, problems
Oh,
there with the Blog Talk studio just for a change. What I was saying was, if I had to pin you down to one particular song from the album, what would you say was your favorite?
Oh man, you know I hate this question. It would be again. This is the answer I always give. Because there's something special to me with every song. I love Yesterday. It's just a beautiful, beautiful song, and David did just an amazing job, and the vocals are so pure. But I also love Take Me, and Love Has Taken Over. I love Fool. Yeah, I mean that's a hard one for me to ever answer. Let's
Great.
Put it that way. It's like which one of your babies do you like the best?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I dig them all.
I totally get that, because when people say to me,
I like the blonde one.
Yeah, which of your songs from the album, the Platinum Prequel, do you like the best? And I'm like, I can't.
Oh, no,
I can say what I like to sing more, but I can't say which one I like the best. I love them all.
I can say that though. I can off the mind you, not that they exist anymore, but Farewell to Alchemy, that album, is I can say which my favourite one is off that, and then I'm taking it down off It Will Cease to Exist shortly. But I've just got a question here from Brenda, is asking when you write songs, are they experiences from your life? There's a non-invasive question, Colton.
Yeah, well, I think most songwriters write from many different places. I know for me, I write from experience, I write from observation. If a track is speaking to me in a way that lyrics are coming through about someone that that I don't know, or someone that I haven't experienced, then I can imagine what it would be like. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So
be honest, all the songs are about Tyhe and myself, aren't they? Really, Colton?
That's exactly. Well, I just didn't want to give it up because I don't want to share the profit, the millions of dollars profit that are rolling in.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, it comes from many different places, and some of that is your experiences, or a feeling that you may have had going through something, and it just started to kind of come through a particular song. I mean, Ain't No Good, obviously was about abuse, and I certainly have not experienced that firsthand. I haven't really observed what the song is talking about, but I can imagine. You know what I mean? We've definitely been exposed to real life stories, whether they've been made into movies or whether we've heard of them on talk shows and what have you. So, I mean, it can come from all kinds of places. But I think I've said this before, that generally speaking, the track speaks to me. The track speaks to me in a melodic way, and as that melody is coming out, words are kind of popping through. So that's kind of how Tug of War was really one of the songs that I wrote with something very, very specific in mind. Quentin wanted me to write a song like, if loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. So I went in there clearly with an idea of how I wanted to tell that story, and that's how that came about. But I'm really inspired and let the track just move me. I try not to think about it as much as feel it.
Yeah.
And
that's how I write, actually.
Yeah, and that to me is what music is about. Now I know there are a lot of technicians out there that go in and they have a specific type of song and reference track that they want to kind of capture and kind of reimagine. But I don't really like going into a writing session that way. Like, I got to write a hit, and it's got to be like this song that's a hit right now, and it's like, fuck that. But just,
who is this Valley girl that keeps coming through, Colton?
Well, I am a California boy, and I grew up in a suburb, so give me a minute. Once a Valley girl, always a Valley girl. You know how it goes.
Absolutely. And on that note, we have got to the end of our time together, but I do want you to be able to share where people can find you and where people can buy the album, more importantly. So where can people find you, first of all? We know they can find you in the Valley with the Valley Girls, but where can they find you on social media?
Actually, not really. I'm not in the Valley. I'm in downtown LA. I'm with all the hipsters, so don't get it twisted.
Fabulous.
But I'm not too far from the Valley if I need a Valley fix, so it's all good.
Great.
I'm on Facebook and Twitter, Colton Ford Music. I understand I'm on Instagram in several different ways, but those aren't driven by me. But
Great.
You can find me there, evidently. And you can, spread wherever I can go. But you can find this EP as well as all my other music on iTunes, on Amazon, and all the places that I've had all of my releases. Any of the major digital stores. You can find me, and please go and check it out and support your independent artists, people.
Yes, indeed.
Please.
Three of us are here right now. Support your independent artists.
Yeah.
Listen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
it really
you guys.
was a pleasure.
Always.
I could talk to you. I could talk to you all day, but we've only got a certain amount of time. But I hope you'll definitely come back again very soon. And also, when you make a video, make sure you let me have it, and we'll put it on the TV show and make it the song of the week. I'd like to make every one of your songs the song of the week, but it's not possible to do that every week. But for today, thank you so much for joining us, the one and only, the fabulous Mr. Colton Ford. Check out his new album, Next Chapter, on Amazon and iTunes. Buy it, or I will sleep with your boyfriend.
I love it. Love it.
The Eastern Seaboard has just caused a seize up on the internet because everyone's gone to buy it now, so that I don't sleep with their boyfriend.
And I didn't even have to show my ass or my vagina.
I know. It was the thought of people's boyfriends seeing mine that made them rush to buy. Anyway, I have to stop now because I will just. Yes.
We could go
thank you very much, and thank you
guys.
to Tyhe and to Colton Ford for joining us today. Thank you, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, all.
Bye. See you, Colton.
That was the fabulous Colton Ford. Make sure you check out his album, which is called Next Chapter. Thank you to Egar for being our co-host today. And thanks to you for listening. We will be back with you next week. I'm not sure exactly who's going to be here with us, but it will sure be someone worth the while. So thanks a lot, and I love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.